Hi, my name is Amanda and you're watching The Reading and Writing Life. We're going to talk about my NPR Reading Challenge. This is not anything that was created by NPR. I made it up on my own and I want to just walk you through it because it's part of all my TBRs and people have questions. So I thought this would be the perfect time to just make a short little video where I'll walk through what I have done in the past and what I am doing moving forward in the future. First of all, let's look over here. I have I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. That doesn't actually help at all, does it? So I guess we'll just look at it like this. What we have here is my NPR list, and these are all in categories. I will scoot over and you can see the categories here, all the different categories that the NPR editors have used, their critics and staff, NPR staff, have used to break down these books into these categories. And then I have taken them and put them in my own order. Now, you'll notice over here on their order, it's in alphabetical order. After staff picks, it's all in alphabetical order. What I have done is I started down here at the bottom with young adult, then I moved up here to biography, then I moved down here to the states we're in, then I moved up here to comics and graphic novels. I skipped book club ideas, just like I skipped staff picks, because those aren't really topics. They're just kind of general categories, and I just didn't want to do those. As you can see, it goes back and forth in that same way. Then we have the dark side, eye-opening reads, tales from around the world, family matters. I'm not going to go through it, but it goes back and forth through the whole thing, and every category is in here. Then I do something else. First of all, let me minimize this. Okay, then what I do is I come over here, and this is what I did already for biography and memoir and young adults and the states we're in. Those books have all been picked except for my 2020, the states we're in. So I'm going to save that for the end of this video and go ahead and pick the book that I'm going to read when I get there, which will be in August, and I'll explain that in just a second. So what I've been doing is I go to the year. I always start with 2013 in whatever category, and it tells me right here at the top how many books are in that category. Like right now in 2013 for the states we're in, there are only 13 books. And then I just quickly grab my phone and I ask her, pick a number 1 to 13. And she said number 6. And so then what I do is I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I go to the next line, 5, 6. So this would be my reader. That's how I do it. And I do that for each year and each topic. And let's see what I've done so far, and then we'll come back to this to draw my 2020. So I have done all of the young adults. For 2013, I read Gorgeous by Paul Resnick. For 2014, I read Heap House by Edward Carey. I loved this. I even read the second book in the series, and now I need to keep going. For 2015, I read Mosquito Land. I loved this book. 2016, I read Highly Illogical Behavior. This was a really good book as well. 2017, Far From the Tree. This is one of my favorites of the year, Far From the Tree. I recommend it all the time. In 2018, Hey Kiddo. This was a graphic novel written by the author. It's a nonfiction, well, kind of a fictionalized version of his life. In 2019, There's Something About Sweetie. Oh my goodness, I loved it so much. And 2020, Clap When You Land. I think I gave every one of these books 5 stars. Possibly not Gorgeous, maybe I only gave it 4 stars. However, all 8 of these books were amazing, and just one more reason that I thought, okay, this is the kind of challenge that I want to do. Now, am I done with the young adults? Absolutely not. When I have gone through all the categories, my plan is to go back up to the young adults and start again, because there are plenty of other books that were picked as great books from these years that I want to read. And so I'm just going to go back up to the top, randomly pick another one, and start over. If it's a book I've already read, then of course I'll skip it. I'm not going to reread it, but we'll see what I get. The next category was biographies. In 2013, I read, not in 2013, for 2013, I read Daily Rituals. This is really cool. It was just a bunch of little bitty short sketches of artists and the way they do their day. Like, some of them were super strict and some of them was just like whatever, but it was really cool to look at them. 2014, the whole title of this book, I mean, you can see the words like George kind of big, but the whole title says, Brothers Be Like George, Yo, Like George, Ain't That Funkin' Kinda Hard on You? That's the whole title of this book. And I was so pleasantly surprised by this biography. When it first popped up, I thought, George Clinton. I knew his name, and I knew I had heard of him, and I knew that he was a musician. And that was about all that I knew about him. And my goodness, this book was so good. I just kept thinking, he is so smart. Like, I just want to sit down and talk to him. But this is all about his life and about funk, which is why it's in the title. He was just great, and he is great, and I want to talk to him. I think it would be great to just sit down and say, hey, I have some questions. For 2015, it was Joan of Arc, which was a really nice story about her life, like a different, I've never read a biography of her, but I thought that this was a really cool take on it because we kind of got the story at the beginning of what was happening in the whole war and why people were fighting, and then Joan just happened to be a person who came into the story. It wasn't like starting out with Joan as a child and all the way up. Well, I mean, she was a child when she joined the war, but I mean, like as a baby and growing up kind of thing. It didn't start with any of that, just started with the war and what was happening there, and she kind of came in. 2016's book was Alive, Alive, Oh. This woman, Diana Athill, wrote this book when she was in her early 90s. She lived to be in her late 90s before she passed away, and it was really good. I wouldn't say that it was fantastic, but she had a really cool life, and it was nice to read about. 2017, I DNF'd this book. It was called The Year I Was Peter the Great, and it's about a reporter who went to Moscow, and it was just really slow. Like, he was literally reading his diary entries and the things that he had written about when he lived in Moscow, because he wrote down what he did when he was there, and now he was going back reading it and kind of like jogging his memories about it and then writing about it. Anyway, it was not interesting to me, and I very rarely DNF books, but I DNF'd this one. 2018, Born to be Posthumous. I knew nothing at all about Edward Gorey until I read this book, and I loved it so much. My main problem with this, one of my very first videos, I talked about this book, but my main problem with it was that the author was kind of obsessed with trying to prove that Edward Gorey was gay instead of just accepting the fact that Gorey himself said, I don't want to be anything. Like, why do I have to be labeled something? And so, leave him alone. I mean, that's what I think. If somebody tells you about themselves, let's just believe them and not try to uncover something. Like, he answered the question multiple times. Let's just believe him and let him live his life, and you live your life. His life was amazing, though. It was very interesting. All of the things that he did, the things that he wrote about, the things he drew, and it was very cool. In 2019, What You Have Heard Is True. This one was really cool. This was about a woman who, I was about to say journalist, but she wasn't even really a journalist. She was a writer, and randomly one day this man showed up at her house and said, come with me, and took her down to El Salvador and just said, I want you to just write what you see. And it was when they were getting ready to have a revolution in El Salvador, and so she didn't know anything about what was going on. She didn't know anything about the country, and so he was trying to show her how people were not having enough food and not having enough basic necessities, and also at the same time trying to teach her El Salvadorian governmental things. And you could tell the confusion that she was having as she was writing about what happened to her then, And it was just a really cool story about a part of history that I didn't know a lot about. And in 2020, it was Neon Girls, A Stripper's Education in Protest and Power. I really liked it. This was another thing that I didn't know anything about, but it's a group of women that worked for a specific club in California. And it's not necessarily a strip club. It's more of like a dancing behind the glass kind of situation. And anyway, none of that matters really, except that they all banded together and kind of formed a union and said, hey, you're going to start paying us and we're going to have rights and we're going to be able to change the things that we want to change about our working environment. It was just really cool. Like, I didn't know any of that stuff about their protests, their unionization, none of that. It was a really cool book. So the next category, and the one I'm actually currently reading in, is The States We're In. And the only book, well, I've finished 2 books so far, but the one that I finished first we've been joined by Django. He is not loving the fact that I am ignoring him to try to film this video. He's quite spoiled. He's 10 years old and he's like, Mama, pay attention to me. I love you. Okay, so the 2013 book was Mary Coyne, and this picture probably looks familiar to you. It's a picture, a really famous picture called Migrant Woman. And what she does in this book is she imagines the life of the woman taking the picture and everything that led up to that, and then the things after that. And she imagined the woman in the picture and the things that led up to that and what happened after that. And then there's another person that's in the story that we eventually find out why he's in there, why does he have his own part, and how he might be connected to one or both of these women. So I thought that it was a really interesting thing. I know there's some people out there that are not happy about it because this is clearly a real person that was taken, that had her picture taken that day. And at some point in her life and her children's lives, they have asked that that picture stop being used and be taken down or whatever, which it can't at this point. It's in the public domain, it's in too many places, and it's just out there. So there was some criticism that people thought she was being insensitive by using this picture and telling the story. I thought that it was great. If she hadn't have used the picture, she could have used, she could have just described it maybe without using the picture, because otherwise she has nothing in common with the real lady. Like, it's a completely fictionalized story just using that picture. So maybe she could have chosen not a picture, like a painting or something, or she could have just used the picture in her mind but not put the picture on the cover of her book, because it's easily recognizable. Maybe that's why she did it. I don't know. I thought that the actual story was really good. Then, for 2014, I have March Book 1 in here, but it's actually March Book 2 that was on the NPR list. But you can't read Book 2 without reading Book 1, and it was really good. It's the only one, I've finished that one so far. That one and The Soda Fountain, those 2 books I'm reading in the month of June, and it's almost the end of June when I'm filming this, so I just have The Soda Fountain left and I'll be done for the month. And March, though, was so good. It is John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, who recently passed away. He is talking about his boyhood all the way up. In Book 1, it goes all the way up through when they first started organizing the sit-ins for the lunch counters in Nashville. He was in Nashville, Tennessee at that point in the early 60s, late 50s. And he was going to college up there. He's originally from Alabama, and he's going to college up there. And then Book 2 starts out right where Book 1 ends, and they're doing the Freedom Rides, where they all went to Washington, D.C., and they got on a series of buses that were going all the way to New Orleans. They bought tickets going all the way to New Orleans, and none of the buses made it through Alabama. One bus, the bus that he was actually supposed to be on, was burned or exploded, and all kinds of horrible things. These books are so good, and they're just devastating. Like, it is heartbreaking to me to see the kinds of things that they had to deal with, and just blatant disregard for human life. Like, I can't even describe it. It's just, they're such good books. They're graphic novels, and I know book 2, of course, came out in 2014, and there is a book 3 and possibly a book 4. I don't know about that. I will definitely be finishing out the series, however many books there are. I really liked it. 2015 is The Soda Fountain. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but it's about the history of the soda fountain in the United States. So I think it'll at least be nice. The category the states we're in is really just about books that have a location base in the United States. So, like, it's very specific to a place in the United States. That's what this category means. And I did go ahead and pick the next 4 books because in July I'm going to read these 4 books, and that leaves us with 2020, which we're going to do in just a second. Here we go. In 2016, I'm going to read Hidden Figures. I have been wanting to read this book, so I'm happy that it came up as my random pick. In 2017, I've got The Beautiful Country and the Middle Kingdom. I know this is America and China, like the history of our countries together from the 1700s when America first became a country. So I don't know anything else about it but that, and that it's a long book. We'll see how it goes. The 2018 pick is Death of a Rainmaker, and this is a mystery, but that's all I know about it as well. And then 2019, The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee. And I think that one is actually a nonfiction book. I think Death of a Rainmaker might be fiction, and The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee is nonfiction, but I think they're both still about Native Americans. So I'm excited about reading those. Now, that's it. So now, well, I did go ahead and make the, let me move this. I did go ahead and make the next one is ready to go, and it's graphic novels. And so I'm excited about that because in each month I read four books for this challenge. And so that's why I have 16, 17, 18, and 19. So that's for July. So in August, I will have 20, and then I'll have 13, 14, and 15 over here in the graphic novels. So I'm going to save those for when I pick my August TBR, but I just thought it would be fun if we did this kind of live, not really, but kind of the best live we can get for the moment. So in 2020, I'm going to go down to the states we're in, and let's see, I'm going to see if I can get my phone off of silent, and maybe she'll say it out loud. We have, oh, this is going to be a minute. We have 109 books. So I will tell you this, every time you hit refresh, so you can see this first one is Riot Baby. Every time you hit refresh, you get a whole new, I mean, they're the same 109 books, but they're in a different order. So I'm not going to hit refresh again. We're stuck with what we're stuck with. And I'm going to ask her to pick a number between 1 and 109.
The answer is 26.
There we go. She said it out loud. Okay, let me mute this again so nothing else happens. But okay, 26. So here we go. I always count down and then I go to the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to speed this up. 25, 26. Okay. The Malevolent Volume by Justin Philip Reed. That's it. Oh, it says poems. So it's a collection of poems. So I don't want to know anything else about it. That's one of the things that I like to do in my books, is not really find out anything else about it. So I'm making myself a note here. I'm going to save the picture and add it to my thing, and it'll be ready to go in my August TBR. So I don't read a lot of poems, so that'll be nice. I mean, I don't know. The cover of it maybe doesn't look nice, but it says, from the winner of the 2018 National Book Award for Poetry. And that's it. That's the NPR challenge. That's how I use this NPR Concierge. I heard about it from Soggy Expat Book Nerd. I know you've heard her name all the time, Heather, on my channel. And this is just one more thing that she gave me that is fantastic. And I have had a lot of fun. I have found books that I never would have read before. I never even read young adult books until I started over here and read those 8 books that I absolutely loved. And it sent me down a whole rabbit hole of a bunch of other books that I have loved so much. So maybe I'll start reading more poetry after this book in August. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, click the like button below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss anything else. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.